All right, guys. New head coach has been announced. Per Ian Rappaport, we have picked Kevin Stefanski to be the new head coach. He is highlighted right there in the center of the Brownie Postgame overlay, looking somewhat stoic with his purple Viking shirt on. Before I get into it, this literally happened like 5 minutes ago. So before I get into it, Dad, first let me get your reaction, and we'll take it from there.
Uh, First reaction, disappointed. I thought it was going to be Josh McDaniels. So I'm a little disappointed. I don't know as much about him as I knew about the other two, McCarthy and him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if he's been a head coach in the past,
He is
has he?
not. He is not.
So he already has violated his first, uh, edict that he put out there when he started this thing, and he got rid of Dorsey. The little I've seen on the chat, on the Twitter, and so forth, is that the fans are going nuts. Um, yeah, like we did last night, Mike. I mean, we knew that 70 to 80% of the fan base was behind Josh McDaniels, but there obviously was something wrong. He couldn't come to a deal yesterday. He left, even though he brought his wife with him, and he stayed there for 7 hours. And you can't get something through. So it may have been the GM. It would be interesting to see who they pick as a GM. Obviously, he'll get along with Stefanski. The performance of the Vikings last night, if you watch that game, was terrible. Now I can't blame it on the offensive coordinator and the play calling. Obviously, the quarterback Cousins has got to execute, but it was nothing to write home about that performance. That's for sure. So I am a little disappointed. He has done a pretty good job in turning Cousins around from almost getting fired after the first 2 weeks of the season, and the team was turning against him. He did something with Cousins to turn him around, along with the head coach, so that he has a very good finishing of the season, gets him in the playoffs, does the upset the week before,
Mm-hmm.
and then does not perform very well the other day. In the one that would get you to the championship game. So can't blame that all on the offensive coordinator, obviously the head coach and everything else, and the players. But and obviously maybe that's why he had to wait. He had to wait till that game is over before he can announce that Stefanski is the guy. He probably knew yesterday when when McDaniels left that he was not my guy, and he was going with Stefanski. It'll be interesting to see which GM they get, and also the kind of staff that he's able to put together now, knowing that we're the last team to make our choice.
Well, I don't want to dig super deep into Stefan, because we will have plenty of time to dig into everything that he's done with the Vikings, his records, everything. For everybody who's unaware of who Kevin Stefanski is, I will give you the Cliff's Notes of his Wikipedia, because
Okay.
I think there's a lot of people out there who are like, I don't really know a whole lot about Kevin Stefanski.
Right.
All
Me
right.
too. Me included.
Kevin Stefanski is 37 years old. He is from Pennsylvania. He went and played football for the University of Pennsylvania. He is an Ivy League boy. His coaching tree, the coaching pedigree he comes from: Brad Childress, Chili Dog; Leslie Frazier, the current defensive coordinator for the Bills, who up till about the fourth quarter was doing pretty good with them last week; and then currently Mike Zimmer of the Vikings. That is it. That is the entire NFL coaching pedigree of Kevin Stefanski. One team, Minnesota Vikings; one organization, no head coach experience. The
How long has he been the offensive coordinator with Minnesota?
2.5 years. No, it's either 2.5 or 1 year and a half.
Wow.
I'll have to go back and look at that real quick. Chat, keep me honest on that, if it's been 1.5 years or 2.5 years.
And where was he before that?
He was quarterback coach, I believe, for the Vikings.
Oh, okay.
He's
Gotcha.
only ever been with the Vikings.
Ah, okay.
Controversies. surrounding Kevin Stefanski. Not really Kevin himself, but we had the whole Kirk Cousins not targeting his wide receivers, and your quarterback had to go out and issue a public apology for not targeting his wide receivers.
Robert Colon in the chat says he's been with the Vikings for 14 years. Wow.
Okay. Pros. I would say pros versus cons. Kevin Stefanski, I would say he did pretty well with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. I don't think anybody could really argue that he didn't do well as an offensive coordinator. I love Kevin Stefanski as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think he would have been a magical offensive coordinator to have on the team. But at head coach, I am very, very shocked, and I have a lot of concerns here. Cons: no head coaching experience at any level.
Right.
Only ever coached.
This is Freddie Kitchens 2.0.
This is thinner.
Freddie Kitchens 2.0.
This is smart Freddie Kitchens. This is Ivy League thinner Freddie Kitchens. I don't know. It's hard to get excited about this. It's really hard to get excited about this.
Right. I agree.
This is for a lot. I
hate to see him start off this way too, with all the negative stuff that's going to happen between now and the first game. Now, like I said last night, you go 3-0, and he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yep.
So, we can say all we want. Everybody can make their predictions and their comments about lack of this, lack of that, blah, 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 blah. It'll come down to the first 3 games of the season. Maybe we'll get a little glimpse in the preseason in terms of what he does. Reaction from Baker, he's got to have a really good relationship with Baker and the other players. So I'll hold my comments open until I totally get more information and also see those first 3 games.
Okay, I think that there were definitely, between what I was sensing from people on Twitter, that there was a small group of people that were very adamant and they were very excited. They were the pro Stefanski truthers out there who were happy, were saying that he should be the guy all along. Now, I will admit, I have not done the full research. I haven't watched every Vikings game, but I have a very close friend who is a very, very big Vikings fan who we will be inviting on the show.
Good.
So that is one of the things that I would say. I am, man, ooh.
We got 153 people in chat watching now. Obviously, as this news goes out and we get our word out that we're going live and we're talking about it, feel free to jump in the chat there and give us your comments. I'm reading them as we go. It's not, I don't see a lot of pro Podesta.
Gary Washington says he loves the higher 100%. So Gary, a longtime chat member, is a fan.
Okay.
Gary, I want to go at this with an open mind. I am open to somebody convincing me that this was the right hire, because it seems like the baseball analytics guy was whispering in Haslam's ear, going, "We went from dumb guy from Alabama to we need to go Ivy League guy." Same thing. Not a whole lot of experience. Not a whole lot of coaching experience for a long time, but no head coaching experience. And that is the biggest problem that we had last year. Was the discipline, was the it seemed like every game was panic mode, and I think it is it's amazingly different to being a offensive coordinator and being a head coach. Look at other offensive coordinators that have failed. Look at North Turner, really good one.
Yeah.
Look at those guys. Look at the guys out there that have never been able to turn it into go from guy who calls plays and develops offensive strategy to leading a group of people on both sides of the ball. Now, it comes down to this one is 100% on D Podesta. 100%.
Right.
This is
agree.
his guy.
Oh, and Haslam too. I mean, he makes the call.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
And you look at his hires, and they have been horrible, for head coaches over the last since he's owned the team. So this just adds to that. He had a chance to stay with Dorsey. He chose not to. He had a chance to go with McCarthy. He chose not to. He had a chance to get McDaniels. He chose not to.
So that's the interesting thing. Now you look at it and go, okay, all the jobs are gone now. So McDaniels has to, put his tail between his legs and go back to New England after really kind of publicly campaigning for the Browns job.
Right.
And then you got the Carolina Panthers, who offered the Baylor head coach, which to me, again, if somebody can convince me why the Baylor head coach was so hot without winning a national championship, without making the playoffs or anything like that. Hey, we got Lonnie Bell. Thanks for subscribing. Sorry, that should have been a little bit above. Let's get you up there. Lonnie Bell, thank you very much for being a subscriber to the channel. And guys, Patreon is down there as well. So if you go to patreon.com/Brownie Postgame to get added to the bottom ticker. Also, all the new hype videos. We just came out with a hype, literally just came out with the last quote unquote. It's not really a hype video. It's more of a hope video, a reflection of the 2019 season. And so I literally just posted it. And
I'd love to know two things at this point. I'd love to know Dorsey's reaction, candid. He's obviously politically, being polite, and he's not going to say anything negative. But I'd love to be like a fly on the wall in the room that had Baker, Odell, and Landry, and Chubb and Hunt in it when they heard this news, or maybe they got a briefing ahead of time. But just love to sit and watch their reaction and get their reaction in terms of
hold on, new subscriber Wade Ziller. Thank you for subscribing, Wade.
So it'll be interesting to see what the boys say. They're going to be politically correct, coming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. And like I said, we're going to go into that first game of the season with our fingers crossed, with our expectations up. I want the guy to succeed. I'm not here to say I want Stefanski to fail.
Jaden NXK, thanks. Forbes, thanks for subscribing. No, Dad, I'm 100% right. I'm 100% with you. But this is the scenario now, with 70%, with give or take 70% of the Browns fans wanted Josh McDaniels after Mike McCarthy was gone. Before it was 40%. I mean, there was Mike McCarthy and Josh McDaniels, two guys. After McCarthy was gone, and Ron Rivera, which really wasn't ever in the running, it was Josh McDaniels. Now, you are going, and Kevin, if you were watching this video, I'm sure you're accepting a job where 70% of the people that are going to be in the stadium did not want you to be the hire. Right. So you have to overcome that, right? And so this last couple of days, as we've been waiting around to find out who the head coach has been, I have been thinking and meditating to myself about the last season and thinking specifically about guys like John Dorsey. And we went, and guys, I reflect a lot on what goes on with the Browns because I make these hype videos, or the new genre, the hope videos that we're going to be looking forward to next year. I have to go back and I have to look at a lot of the things going on. I went back last night and I watched all of the hype videos that I made throughout the last 2019 season to make sure that I was coming up with the right clips to use for the year in review video that I literally just launched a few minutes ago. And, the thing that bothered me the most about it was I honestly loved having John Dorsey as the GM. When he said, when he said, let's wake up this sleeping giant that is the Cleveland Browns, the rich history, the passionate fan base, the giant that had been sleeping for so many years, finally get it going and add fuel to this fire that we've been dying for. And then to let that guy go. So then we have a outside consultant who has zero track record for success in the NFL, zero, and limited track record for success in baseball. Obviously, we know he's the Moneyball guy. We know that he's been able to turn some things around. I have to look. I don't know how many World Series teams that he's been a part of, he helped put together. But this is the guy that Jimmy Haslam has determined is going to be the one leading the charge in picking the next coach. And so, Kevin, if you're out there, I wish you the best of luck.
Me too. I
obviously, we want to win games, but the vast majority of people do not want you. So you better come in here and get off to an aggressive start. Because if we go normal Browns, lose the first game of the season, lose the second, maybe if we start going down that path, the mob will be there with the pitchforks and the torches to burn First Energy Stadium down. Because this is what you have done. Jimmy Haslam, at this point, the only thing that I could see being a positive out of this, if Kevin Stefanski led Browns happens to fail, which I'm not rooting for them to do, I'm just thinking about the reality of it. If it happens, this could be the final straw where Browns fans will openly reject Jimmy Haslam and just force him out as an owner. Now, I don't know if that's possible, because I know the Redskins fans would love to have Dan Snyder out. But this goes beyond meddling. This goes into a level of incompetence that has maybe never been seen in professional sports.
Yeah, I mean, you make a decision to bring Dorsey in, good, bad, or indifferent, when that decision was made. But then you got to look at the results. Dorsey almost single-handedly turned the organization around. Hugh Jackson was failing. The players were mediocre at best. Now, Sashi Brown, I guess he put some draft choices, got some picks available, but Dorsey turned them into reality. Look how many draft picks we've wasted over the last 20 years.
Mark my words right now, guys. Mark my words right now. Take a clip of this. I guarantee you we will not select an offensive lineman with our first pick in the draft. I guarantee you an offensive lineman's not coming. Because
where are we going?
This level of incompetence can only be justified with doing something stupid like that.
Well,
so,
I reserve judgment on that, Mike, for at least until we get the new GM and where he comes from. Now, if he comes from the Eagles, or he comes from the Colts, or he comes from somewhere else, obviously that's two people that haven't worked together, meaning Stefanski and whoever this is on the GM side. And maybe the GM is a good John Dorsey type of guy that evaluates talent very well and fills in the holes where it's needed and so forth. The other thing I'd hold reserve on is who he picks as offensive coordinator. If he tries to run the offense like Freddie Kitchens did, I will be so disappointed, almost to the point of not watching the games. Obviously, if they win, prove me wrong type of thing, and I'll get back on the bandwagon. But I'm with you. I would predict if those two things don't go right, the offensive coordinator, him not picking plays, and a good GM, this thing could go even further south than where we were under Freddie Kitchens.
So here, the only thing we can do is wait to play the games, right? We got to wait to play the games. But I think what Jimmy Haslam came out and said is we're going to look for somebody who has, and he didn't say specifically head coaching experience. He said NFL experience, which is basically, and that was to response to the question of if Urban Meyer was a potential candidate. And he said that they're focusing on people with NFL experience, which is obviously what they did, but they didn't pick somebody with head coaching experience. Now, there's no guarantee that Josh McDaniels was going to be successful either, guys. Like, we can all agree on that. But if you look at the resume, there's no resume for this dude. He's been with one team since 2006, which says a lot. I mean, it says that he's been able to work his way up.
How many different head coaches have Minnesota had over those 14 years?
3. Childress, Frazier, Zimmer.
Okay.
3. And he's risen up the entire time. And he's taken over. When he took over the offensive coordinator job, they were doing really terribly, and then arguably they've done fairly well as offense coordinator. I want to say somewhere, definitely top 5 offense this past year. Okay, so top 5 offense this past year. Before that, average. Before that, bad.
Yeah,
right?
Who was the quarterback before Cousins?
It was Keenum, right?
Keenum, yeah, and he went to Washington. And then
he went to Denver and then Washington.
Oh, okay. So there's no real success story there. Where is the success story of grooming a second, third year quarterback like Baker Mayfield, who's now operating under his 1, 2, 3, 4th head coach now? He had Jackson, he had Greg Williams, he had Kitchens, and now he's with this guy.
So and none of them have been other than possibly Greg Williams. You could argue Greg Williams was a bona fide head coach. I think he's just been blacklisted in the NFL. I don't think he's going to get another head coach job. But all of the coaches are essentially unproven. Or you could at least say Hugh Jackson was just mediocre to begin with, and he just became the Hugh Jackson that we know after he won 1 game in 2 seasons.
Right.
So with this pick, I am going to have to do a lot of research now. Thank you very much, Browns, for making me have to go back and watch the Vikings season. But I gotta tell you, I don't know. I gave him a C- grade out of all the head coaching options that we had. I would have been more excited about Jim Schwartz. I would have been more excited about Urban Meyer, Josh McDaniels, Greg Roman. I probably would have been more excited about just because we take him away from Baltimore. I mean, the only thing that I'm happy about is we didn't go with Soleil. We didn't go with Dable. Bieniemy, I would have been probably just as excited about as Stefanski. I don't really know what to say. I am sort of I haven't taken it all in yet. This is literally live reaction. But I will tell you, and I think that the reaction that we're getting from the fans, as you look in chat, as you look in Twitter, and I just put up a poll. Let's look at the Twitter poll that I put up with 845 votes so far. This is a small sample size, 845 votes. 74% are not happy with this hire to the 26% that are. So as we were saying before, Dad, around 70%, give or take, margin of error, standard deviation, yada yada. 70% of Browns fans did not. So this dude is walking into this job with a very frustrated fan base, with a frustrated player base. He's walking into this job. If this dude is successful, he will be a god in Cleveland.
Yeah.
But man, are the cards ever stacked against you, Kevin. And I hope you are ready. Because the Cleveland Browns and our fan base are wildly different than the Minnesota Vikings fan base.
Well, the fan base doesn't play the games the fan base doesn't.
Yeah, but they're the
choose.
ones who boo at stadiums
Oh,
when
true,
you
true.
don't do well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The key is going to be his performance on the field and in the locker and in the draft. That, and then we just sit back and wait for the results, and obviously the fan base will determine maybe his fate down the road after he determines his own fate by doing what he did. Freddie Kitchens determined his own. The fan base was with him through 3/4 of the season, and when things didn't change, then the fan base started to turn and say, "Hey, this isn't working. Things got to change," and they never changed. So I go back to my first 3 games. That will be the telltale sign. And if he goes 0-3, who knows? They'll be burning him in effigy, and along with Aslam. But if he goes 3-0, he's the next coming, and we're off to the races. And then you got everything in between: 2-1, 1-2, etc. Obviously, players make a difference. Miles coming back, working on the defense. He's not a defensive guy; he's an offense coordinator. It'll be interesting to see if any of the staff stays, or he just wipes everybody out and he starts all over, and he gets the best he can get. He gets the best he can get at this point because everybody has pretty much locked down their staffs at this point.
Well,
not to say he can't do it, but he's got an uphill battle.
I know a lot of people are going to be asking if he's going to potentially bring in Gary Kubiak, who is I believe he's the assistant head coach
Denver?
of the Vikings. Previously, before that, he was the head coach of Denver. I remember Kubiak I feel like Kubiak's been a head coach in the league a bunch of times. Let me look back to his stuff. Texans head coach from 2006-2013. So I think he was the first head coach of the Texans. He was Ravens offense coordinator in 2014, head coach of the Broncos. That was his last one. Now he's getting kind of up there in terms of his career. He's 58. He could still coach, but I don't know if maybe Kubiak decides to join him in Cleveland and offer that mentoring type relationship so he can help and get him off to a good start in terms of how to teach him how to become a head coach, because this is my biggest fear. The Shoer Nut 60, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate that. My biggest fear was that we would hire a head coach who would have to learn how to be a head coach on the job, not having failed anywhere previously, not having had success anywhere previously either, right? But not being able to be somebody who's led a team of players, high-profile players like this. In Attila Barsky, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate that. In Minnesota, he did not have an Odell Beckham. He did not have a Baker Mayfield who's in just about every commercial on Sundays. He didn't have Jarvis Landry. He did have talent. Stefan Diggs, Thielen, those guys are talented players. Kirk Cousins is a backup quarterback who has flashes of excellence, but also flashes of incompetence. And he managed to work enough with Kirk Cousins to make him a statistically amazing quarterback. However, Kirk Cousins goes through streaks of 2 or 3 games, 4 games where he's just not even there. And this is the offense, right? This is what we got from Stefanski. So
it'll be interesting to listen to the talking heads. I taped them this morning as soon as I heard that the decision had made. It hadn't hit the wire yet, other than the scroll at the bottom. So the talking heads hadn't had their chance to digest it and start making their comments. So as soon as we're off the air, I'm going to go back and listen, and I'll try to take notes. I'm sure they're all going to sort of be a little bit like us, in surprise that Josh Daniels didn't get it, and that this guy, they want him to succeed, so they're not going to bash him by any means, I don't think. and again, it depends on what he brings with him, what he's able to assemble. I really would love to know why McDaniels was not chosen, either from Haslam's side or from McDaniels' side. The rumors are that McDaniels wanted to make sweeping changes in the organization, and Haslam and DePodesta, I guess, were not in favor of that, so they weren't going to go.
Definitely wasn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, he already got his big change. He already forced Dorsey out by his actions and his influence over Haslam. So it'd be interesting.
Well, the other reports are that there are people. I think Daryl Reuter or maybe Ben Axelrod had tweeted out that there are people within the Browns organization that were very frustrated that Jimmy Haslam and possibly, I guess, D Haslam as well were taking so much advice from Paul DePodesta, who is only there once or twice a month.
Right.
You know, there are people that are. Imagine if you work for an organization where you have to go to the CEO or president of the company, and you're in the trenches, you're doing things all day long, and you're the one who has to live and breathe it all the time.
And that's what Dorsey was doing every day, to the point where he probably slept in that sweatshirt.
Well, Dorsey's big crime was so he fought against DePodesta. The power struggle that was last year was we're going like John Dorsey was the one who brought in Jarvis and drafted Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield and orchestrated the trade for Odell. John Dorsey's the GM and gets to select the coach. And now the reports were Stefanski was very close last year, and he was Paul DePodesta's guy.
Right.
The power went to John Dorsey, and the result of that was 6-10 with half the season, all Browns fans scratching our heads, and Todd Monken coming out saying that the team's a mess, and Freddie goes off script right away. David Blau saying that the Lions organization was significantly better structured than the Browns. So all of this happened, and that's what happened to John Dorsey, right? Now, then Jimmy Haslam, being the incompetent owner that he is, instead of saying, all right, John, we didn't do well with the Freddie Kitchens hire. We got to make a change. Help us make a change. Let's pick somebody else, and let's learn from the mistake we made. Instead of doing that, Paul DePodesta says, we're going to hire Kevin Stefanski, the guy I wanted last year. And again, not having anything to base that off of other than the success as an offensive coordinator. Now, who would I rather have, Stefanski or Freddie Kitchens? Stefanski, right? Freddie Kitchens proved this last year, and hindsight's 2020, but Freddie Kitchens proved last year that he was not ready or capable of being a head coach and managing a game on all sides of the ball and leading a team. He proved that last year. Nobody would have known that going into it because it seemed like he did have the hearts and minds of the players and of the fans and everything like that going into the season, but he ultimately didn't succeed. John Dorsey then came back and said, I want to give him another year, and all Browns fans were like, look, that's where Dorsey started to slip, when he started to back Freddie and be like, Freddie, you're going to be the guy, you're my guy. And I think that's admirable for John Dorsey.
In eventually, because they fired him right at the end of the last game, and Dorsey was still there. Haslam was not firing Dorsey at that point. He was trying to save Dorsey. He was trying to keep him with the organization, but it clearly looked like DePodesta was going to get maybe his guy Stefanski, and Dorsey was against that. He knew where that was going and said,
Fight Observer 1903, thank you for the subscribe.
I can't live with that, and I can't live with you putting me in the back seat of a talent evaluator underneath DePodesta. So based on those two things, I'm out of here, and I wish you the best of luck. And he's been pretty silent on the sidelines, so it'll be interesting down the road to get some kind of reaction out of him.
Yeah. Just want to take this opportunity with the 300 concurrent viewers that we have. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. Get the nice little bling letting us know that you've subscribed to the channel. We'll give you a shout out. If you happen to be a fan of the content that we produce, we do have a Patreon. We're trying to grow that Patreon so we can do some other really cool giveaways. We have an OBJ Funko Pop giveaway that we need to give away for this one based off of the surveys that we did. And if you happen to be in the greater Cleveland area, Mud Dog G just subscribed. Thank you for joining the community, Muddy Dog G. If you happen to be in the Cleveland or Westlake area and happen to need any sort of painting tasks completed, both commercial or residential, give Greg Tracy a call. The guys at Certa Pro Painters are the first business sponsor of the Browns, the first business patron of the Brownie Postgame YouTube channel, both live stream and hype videos that we produce. So give them a call. They're awesome. And Greg's an awesome guy, and Greg's probably in the chat right now, although it's going so fast I can't read it. Jay and Hooch Gaming, welcome to the Brownie Postgame community. Thank you. If anybody happens to give $1 on Patreon, there is a special alert box that appears for anybody who does $1 on Patreon. So that will happen. I'm waiting for that to happen live so that we can really celebrate it, but it just hasn't happened just yet. All right, now getting back to what we were talking about with the live Browns reaction. I was browsing, as Dad, you were chatting a little bit. I'm browsing through what people are saying, and man, it is disappointment, shock, anger.
Well, we did, Jason Burns, he's been a regular, comments a lot. He indicated he loved the hire because he runs the ball. Well, that's great. I mean, I love to run the ball too, especially you got Chubb and you got Hunt. But if you got a line that can't block and can't open up holes for you, even though they did open some of them, but that offensive line has got to get better. And if they get that offensive line better and they run the ball, then I would agree with Jason Burns that that's the key, because I go back to the season, throughout the season, when they were running the ball, they had some success. That when Baker did the play action fake, he had a lot more time to throw the ball. And obviously time leads to better decision making, better throws, that type of thing. So all that said, that could be a possibility. But that offensive line has got to get better. Yeah,
that's where it's got to start. It has to start with the offensive line. It then has to go to, I'm actually, the next thing for me will be, do we bring in Gary Kubiak to help advise Stefanski? I think that would be a wise decision, being that Kevin Stefanski's never led any organization other than calling plays and creating offensive strategy.
I think they have a big history too, don't they? Or maybe no. It's the Shanahans have the history with Kubiak.
I think you're right. I think with it all now comes down to Paul DePodesta. Paul DePodesta will be there's like a couple bad people in Cleveland, and it's Art Modell. Right behind him right now is Jimmy Haslam and Paul DePodesta. If this doesn't work out, you will be a very close number 3.
Yeah, he'll be gone.
The people do not want. I think that's the one. I can get behind Stefanski, because who knows? I mean, it's coordinator to coordinator. I can eventually get behind it, especially if he wins games. Fine, I'm totally cool with it. I don't really care either. I don't care who's coaching as long as we're winning games. He can get us to the playoffs. He can get us well over 500, which he's done with the Vikings. Although the Vikings also had a very talented defense as well. If he can do that, all will be forgiven and everything's fine. But if they do not get off to a hot start, it is going to be riot time in Cleveland, because nobody really wanted him. And that is the Paul DePodesta. He's the worm's tongue. He's the eunuch that is whispering into the inept, incompetent king's ear and saying, this is the guy we need to go with, because he knows how to read spreadsheets and look at data that comes in from Pro Football Focus, because that really appears what the criteria came down to for selecting Kevin Stefanski as the new Browns coach. Now, the other thing is, how many years does he get? Is he going to get a 5-year deal like the Panthers gave to Rule? Colin Van Dongen just subscribed. Thank you for joining the community, Colin Van Dongen. We haven't really named our community. That's another thing. What do we name this community? Is it like the Brownie Postgame community? I mean, that's pretty generic, but maybe that's what we'll go with. Thank you guys for subscribing. And as always, like we said before, the Patreon exists.
Has it been officially announced, Mike? Do you know? Is anybody? Is it all just speculation at this point?
Well, Rappaport announced it. Let's go. D-Dog, the GOAT, subscribe. Welcome to the community, D-Dog. Let's go to Browns, official Browns Twitter, and there has not been a tweet. The last tweet that they've done was 10 hours ago. 5 things to know about our head coach candidate, Josh McDaniels.
Right. Oh, God.
So the social team clearly weren't in on it either. There are people out there that want to now sell their season tickets. That's the tweets I'm getting now. And there are people that are really pissed. Bleeding Orange and Brown, not good for season ticket sales. 11 years, I'm not sure. So Bleeding Orange Brown might be out. I mean, this is what it is. This is what the only way, honestly, if this goes sideways, the only way to really impact anything is to vote with your wallet. Unfortunately, Jimmy Haslam, the money situation for him, he's a billionaire, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you buy Brown stuff or buy season tickets. The only way that it will actually help is if we do bad, if we as a community voice our opinion and let it be heard, because this is where we're at, guys. This is the reality that we live in. This timeline of the multiverse has determined that we as Browns fans get the worst possible Browns.
Here's another fan survey that's just concluded on or going on. Who do you like better, or do you like the Kevin Stefanski hire? 27% yes, 73% no, 1,274 votes. So over 1,000 votes on that one. That's still running on Twitter.
Mr. Bodybuilder 69 to subscribe. What's going on, Mr. Bodybuilder? Yeah, everybody's negative. Let's do a very quick live chat poll. Everybody press the number 1 in chat if you don't like the hire. Press the number 2 in chat if you do like the hire. So I'll start it off. I'm just going to say, no, I don't like the hire. Let's see the 1s versus 2s. 2's bad, 1 is bad, 2 is good. Let's see what people say. 1.
3.
Grant Nestor is on. Grant Nestor, Hurricane Lane is
a lot of 2s.
All right. Jason Kimball's a 2.
A lot of 2s.
The Laner. All right, we got a couple people in there. Maybe the community right now. Let's do
almost 50-50. Oh, some guys are voting more than once.
Robert Reese, what's going on? Welcome to the Brownie Postgame community. Thank you for helping us grow our subscriber base. I'm going to create a live. We're going to do a live straw poll. Jose Gotcha Life is also just a new subscriber.
He's already changed. Jose? He's already changed his mind.
Happy about the Stefanski hire. Yes. No. All right. This will actually be a little bit easier to do. See results. All right. I'm going to put this live up on. I'm going to do a window capture real quick. Live poll. And we're going to do a live poll here.
Still no official word on when it's going to be official or when they're going to roll them out.
Randy Gebel, Jabel, thank you for being a new subscriber. Sorry, go ahead.
So we're all still waiting with bated breath. I can't imagine it could get this far, especially with Rappaport reporting it. And he's the only one. Everybody else is dovetailing off of him. So he obviously got the call from Stefanski or Haslam or DePodesta to say, put the word out there. And I'm sure they're watching the Twitter. Maybe they're watching our show too to get reaction out of 315 avid fans that are watching us now that are
Yeah.
giving us their feedback as firsthand as you can get, and then some. But I like the poll you did here on chat, Mike.
Let's see. Jackie Jenkins, thank you for joining the channel as well. We have Kelly Cashwell. Kelly, welcome to the community as well. I just posted in the chat a live reaction. So now it's going to come in live. So we'll see how this goes. We shall see. Is this going to be positive or negative? Votes are coming in real time.
It'd be interesting to know what Stefanski is going to do with somebody like Odell and DePodesta and even Haslam from the standpoint. Obviously, he was a Dorsey guy that they brought in with a big trade, a big hoopla and everything. It'd be interesting if they get off the Odell bandwagon really quick and put him up for auction and see who the highest bidder is out there that wants to take on Odell and give us something significant in exchange. He's the only one I see that I think Chubb is safe. I think Hunt is safe. I think Baker's safe. I think
you think Odell is the guy that is potentially at risk here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, knowing nothing though, just knowing that.
Well, but hold on a second. We had Kevin Stefanski obviously understands the value of great wide receivers with Stefon Diggs and Adam Thielen on the same team. Mm-hmm. So,
but they got to perform, and if Odell's not performing like he did this year, he had a very mediocre season for as high a quality of receiver that he should have been. He made some nice catches every once in a while.
Oh, and I went back to look for highlights, and I got to tell you, some of the balls at his hands. Now he made some amazing catches too. So right. But if you're going to be considered a top wide receiver in the league, you got to catch the ones that hit you in the hands as well as the amazing catches too. And I think there were just too many. And that was one of the things that led to Baker Mayfield over the last 2 years leading the league with wide receivers, or not just wide receivers, just in general, drop passes. The current status of the Stefanski Hire live poll is 60% not happy and 39% with 13 votes saying yes, they are happy.
So 60-40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
That's fair.
Yeah, not awful, but somewhere around that, 70%. So give or take, this is somewhat of a small. 20 votes were no, and 13 votes were yes. So, and I know a lot more people in the actual chat itself were commenting on it. This would be another good chance just to remind people, hey, if you're not a subscriber, subscribe and hit the notification button. You'll know when we go live, and you'll know when the new hype videos are out. I just came out with a new video today, so if you check that out, it's the year in review. Has some cool highlights, plus the live reaction of me and my dad when we won the Bills game, which kind of wraps it up. Wasn't all bad. I would say, thinking back to the 2019 season, there were some moments where it was pretty exciting. There were some moments. We played relevant football almost all the way to the very end. The only games that were just completely irrelevant were probably the second Baltimore game, and then definitely the Bengals game. That was a completely irrelevant.
I expected to win, starting with the Titans. I expected to win every game that I was there for the pregame and sitting in front of my TV. And obviously disappointed 10 times because we lost 10 times, and we got through the 6 that we won. I was actually present at the Baltimore game, which was
the first Baltimore game, the good Baltimore game. You went to the good one.
Yeah, that was great, and treated very nicely by the Baltimore fans as well. So the season was looking really, really chipper at that point, and it just went sideways from that point on. We did have a little glimmer where we won 3 out of 4, something like that. So it gave us hope. It gave us that light at the end of the tunnel. which never materialized because we lost the last three,
Hey,
the last four.
And for some reason that it hasn't dinged up there, but we've got two new patrons that have come in for Jason Stopar with Jason Stopar's in there with the $10 tier 3. The first tier 3 elite member is joined today, and also just Gary. We have Gary. We don't have any maybe possibly Gary. I'm assuming that's Gary Washington, but I don't want to say because it only has member name Gary. So Gary and Jason Stopar. Jason with the $10, which is awesome. Thank you, dude. And I don't know why the thing didn't bling up there. I got to go double check why, but I'm gonna have you up in the ticker. Actually, go ahead. I'm gonna continue giving your reaction. I'm gonna add Gary and
Running Beard
Jason.
made a comment that the new staff is going to undo what Dorsey did. That's a big fear. Dorsey put this team together. He gave us the hope, like you said before, wake up that sleeping giant, really get us excited. Look at, all these people that are watching us, this channel that started, it was all because of the expectations that Dorsey
I apologize. I just missed because I was typing in there. I just missed whoever just joined in the chat, so I apologize. I'll go back. So we just got a new subscriber there as well. Thank you for Gary and Jason as well for the Patreon. That's huge.
So I hope that this new organization just doesn't undo what Dorsey did just for the sake of undoing it. That they obviously make changes that are, one, necessary, and two, that make a whole lot of sense and that help the team, and that upgrade position by position, coach by coach, that type of thing. But, if you're like one administration coming in after the next, the Democrats leave, the Republicans come in, they turn everything upside down, and you head in a different direction. And, a lot of people get caught in the crossfire.
Varun Arvinid, thank you for subscribing.
So that's my fear, that we trade Odell because he was the Dorsey guy. That's not the reason you trade Odell. You trade Odell because he didn't perform. He's a distraction. He's hurt. Whatever, you can get a pretty good price for him to fill your needs. All those types of things. He's not a spring chicken anymore. When was the last time he had a really outstanding season? It's been a while. He could be really at the end of his career. Which would fall back on Dorsey for a bad selection, but and maybe they give him another year. Maybe they work on him. He's clearly going to be something that's going to have to be managed. Whereas the other ones are pretty manageable. Even Landry was a team player, a person. Worked hard, caught tough plays, played hurt.
Andrew Karsten, thank you for subscribing.
The whole thing. So. Let's hopefully give Stefanski the benefit of the doubt, and with those surveys being done, it looks like there is enough fan support to get him off the ground and get him to those first 3 to 5 games in the next season without killing him, and see what he can do. And if he does it, that's great. That's absolutely great.
Man, this is kind of the big day that we've been waiting for ever since it was announced that Freddie was out. When we went live right away on that, then we went live right away when Dorsey was out. This is kind of the moment that we've been waiting for. I think that the majority of Browns fans out there, me included, and you included, thought it was going to be Josh McDaniels, thought this was the right time to do it. But I think you're right. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens and what comes out as the reasons why. I don't think Haslam, when he's asked about McDaniels, is going to give any details on why.
I don't think so.
And we may never get them. We may get them from Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, down the road, a year, whether a lot will depend on what Stefanski does. If he's successful, nobody will care.
Right.
If he's not successful, everybody wants reasons. Everybody wants to blame somebody. Everybody wants to second guess. And everybody wants to promote their guy that it should have gone in this direction. So Stefanski can silence all of those people by putting a good team together, putting a good strategy together, and having his players execute and win. Nobody cares about, second place. Look how disappointed Baltimore is at this point. They had it in their hands. A great season, great team, good coaching, great fan support. They get home field advantage, and
Yep.
they would have had it against Kansas City next week, because I think Kansas City is going to win today. No guarantee they're going to win that game, and certainly no guarantee they would win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
But if it went up against the 49ers and it was the Baltimore, we already saw that game, and it was very, very close, back and forth.
Yep.
So anything would have been possible. So I'm sitting here as a Browns fan, crying about the season and where we wound up and the fact that we didn't get in the playoffs. And if I was in the playoffs, I was thinking last night as the Titans were beating them and winning that game, the Titans had the season that we wanted from the beginning. They beat the Browns out of the box. They beat some teams that they really were predicted to lose to.
Yep.
And they kept it going. They got a young quarterback in Tannehill that just played, lights out, including the game the other night. And I'm thinking, boy, you change the name from the Titans to the Browns and you give us that season and we would be falling all over ourselves.
I mean, well, just to give a thank you, Devon McKinney and Based God Swag. Thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. A couple things from reactions from this. The Tennessee Titans are a pretty darn good team. They are Mike Vrabel. I was not really excited about him. He's turned into being a pretty amazing hire for them, taking fourth year in a row. They went 9-7, made it to the playoffs, and then ended up winning some games in the playoff. They beat the Patriots and they beat the Ravens. I thought the Ravens were going to play in the Super Bowl against the 49ers and win the Super Bowl.
Right.
So the Tennessee Titans took out two giants in the league. So if they can get past
Tannehill and Henry, those two played outstanding. And I have to give a little bit of credit to the Ravens. They took their chances. They had 2 4th down and short inside of 1 yard or a yard and a half when they were losing in the third quarter into the fourth, and they took a chance. And I think they got burned in the first quarter or second quarter, where they tried it and they failed. And Cousins went back on the very next play and threw a deep pass right over the middle. Guy wide open. Not Cousins. What's his name?
Which team? Jackson?
No, the
Tannehill?
Tannehill. I'm sorry. All these names. Tannehill threw it over the middle, hit the guy in stride on the 5-yard line.
Joseph H., thanks for subscribing.
And it's 14-0, and the Ravens are now seriously in trouble. And like we said, they're going to force Jackson to throw the ball and not run as much and dominate the game, and they never recoup. They never recoup from that.
I mean, if you look at the games that Baltimore lost this season, and I tweeted this earlier today, it's pretty clear. The roadmap for beating the Baltimore Ravens is get up early, be aggressive, and get up early in the score, and then force Lamar Jackson to be an NFL quarterback. And it also takes the ball out of Mark Ingram's hands. It forces them to throw. Right. The Baltimore Ravens with Willie Snead, I mean, they don't have the greatest wide receivers out there, and they obviously don't have the greatest quarterback. He's just if they can get up or keep it right around there, eventually they wore you down with running the ball. And then the running game would then open up these big passing plays. But if you can get up early and then force them into passing situations, you can beat the Baltimore Ravens. And the Tennessee Titans put on a clinic just like we did early on in the season against the Ravens. We set I would be surprised if they don't come out, if Tennessee comes out and be like, look, we looked at the roadmap that the Browns did and we just followed that. That's how you beat them. It's pretty clear. So Mike Vrabel's done a great job at Tennessee. And at this point, depending upon what happens in Kansas City, I think it's pretty safe to say that out of the AFC, the Tennessee Titans could represent the league in the Super Bowl because they're just gelling and playing well together as a team.
Sure. And if they run Henry and Kansas City can't stop him, that's going to make Tannehill even that much more dangerous. And he's proved he can do it. He wasn't a 1, 2, 3 game fluke. He's proved it every week since he's been put in.
If I'm the Tennessee Titans fan, I'm looking at that going, I don't even know who Marcus Mariota is. Just launch him into the sun because we have our quarterback now. We have our running back now. Thanks to Freddie Kitchens, he allowed Henry to get the rushing title over Nick Chubb. So
but he didn't win it by a yard or two. I mean, he put on quite a performance in that last game.
Derrick Henry's good. He's a good running back. I mean, the bottom line is he's a very good running back. I'm not trying to take it away from him. But
2 playoff games in a row. He rushed for 380 yards in 2 games, which is an NFL record for playoff games in a row.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good coach, or a good running back. I don't want to take it away from him. I just think that it was Nick's title to lose, and because of how we played, we ended up losing. Not to say that Nick really even cared about it, but we did. I cared about it. I don't really care all that much about individual achievements. If we're not going to make the Super Bowl, or not even the playoffs, then heck, I would like to have a guy that we could say led the league in rushing. Now, I think Nick's going to have plenty of chances in his career to do that. And it's really interesting to be, who Nick Chubb is, the kind of guy he is. Not, he rushed for 1,000 yards, then he had one play where he lost 5 yards or 6 yards and ended up not being able, then that took away from his 1,000-yard rookie season. And then this last year, he put up, he could have led the league, and then the last couple games, it didn't happen. So I think that he's a really special guy, and I think that if Stefanski can come in and look at the talent that we have on the team, the big plays this year, the majority of the big plays this year came out of the running back position, and if he can turn, I watched the playoff games. Lakota Briggs, thanks for subscribing. I watched the playoff games with the Vikings, and I will tell you that I think based on what I really liked about Stefanski, and I know this last game it didn't go really well, but I liked the game before this. I really liked his third down calls. Little dump passes out of the backfield, utilizing the weapons that he has. Adam Thielen with that catch. That dude is a legit wide receiver. And, coming up with that catch, which led to the overtime game against the Saints. Man, that was a ballsy play, and it made if you can make Kirk, if they're weighing the pros and cons, they can go, dude, you take Josh McDaniels, you take Tom Brady away from Josh McDaniels, who knows what Josh McDaniels is, but Kevin Stefanski had Case Keenum and Kirk Cousins, who will never be considered one of the greatest ever. Ryan Petasek. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Ryan Petasek, thank you for subscribing. Those two guys, Keenum and Kirk Cousins, he made them look real good. So if he can take that and we hire a competent defensive coordinator, we maybe get a guy like a Kubiak who can come in and be that mentor type guy, maybe this turns around. Maybe my initial reaction of anger, confusion, maybe I'm starting to reach that level of grief, of the acceptance, Well,
this is Haslam and DePodesta keeping us in the dark and keeping us guessing and keeping us, with our wish list. Had they been a little bit more, open and honest with us, saying that McDaniels is not a lock,
yep.
That type of thing, which I guess is hard to do. We wouldn't have gotten our hopes and aspirations up along one guy versus the other, which then when you go against it, you get the kind of reaction that we've been talking about for the last hour. It's early. It hasn't even officially been announced yet. It'll be interesting to see what kind of questions.
What if they got it wrong?
No. That's really wishful thinking. I don't think it wouldn't get Rappaport wouldn't stick his neck out on the line, and there's not been any comments coming out of Haslam saying that's not true. If it was not true and it was still open and McDaniels was still in the hunt, he would come out right away and say, hey, that's fake
Yep,
news.
you're absolutely right.
Don't buy into that. No decision's been made. That type of thing. That hasn't happened. So you got to believe this is the real deal. This is happening, and now we got to wait for shoe 2, shoe 3, shoe 4, shoe 5 to drop on coaching staff decisions, GM decisions, and if we can glean a little bit into the insight as to why it wasn't McDaniels and why Dorsey had to go and so forth. It's like politics. It's all about power, control, putting in your people, setting up your legacy, that type of thing. I keep coming back to my earlier comment about this is Freddie Kitchens 2.0.
Yep.
And the first indication for me will be, does he pick an offensive coordinator that he's really going to use as an offensive coordinator?
Yep.
That will be the first big plus I will give Stefanski if he does that, and I will be on board because that is a correction of a real problem that materialized at least 3/4 of the way through, or maybe halfway through the season, and Freddie Kitchens and Dorsey did nothing to change that.
Yep.
And so let's see where Stefanski goes on that. It looks like he's got a lot of.
You keep calling him Stefanski. It's Stefanski. Stefanski.
I get all the names wrong.
You do. I want to give a shout out to the Babyface Jackson who subscribed, and also Scott Leo. Thank you for joining the community. Welcome with open arms on this day of. It's not a day of mourning. I don't know if it's a day of celebration. It's a day of change within the Browns organization, and we shall see. This could be a great thing. I think the difference between this year and last year was this year it's pretty much up in the air. Last year, everyone was pretty happy with the direction that the organization was headed, with John Dorsey at the helm, with Baker Mayfield and Odell coming in, playing together, a whole bunch of great stuff going on. Now we are back to being thrown into the whirlwind of confusion and chaos. And if Stefanski can come in and lead the team and be a leader in the team, and then also use that same offensive mind that he used in Minnesota, maybe we'll be better. I think that there's no debating. There is absolutely no debate on this whatsoever. Kevin Stefanski is miles more intelligent than Freddie Kitchens. So Kevin Stefanski, Ivy League, University of Pennsylvania guy, and where he is, he was obviously valued enough in Minnesota to make it through all the 3 coaching changes that he's been through since he's been there, right? So Kevin Stefanski is obviously an intelligent guy. Paul DePodesta is now really banking his legacy on this man. 37 years old, not having led a team before in a head coaching role. Let's look at this too, because I've been around some organizations who've had young CEOs, young founding people, and what I've seen happen the most is you can hire the smartest guy in the room. That's easy. You can go and find the Ivy League guys out there, but it's who they surround themselves with that will determine if they're successful ultimately or not.
Sure.
And helping and guide them to becoming a great head coach in the NFL, because it's not the head coach in the NFL is not just about X's and O's. It is about dealing and managing people that are exponentially more famous and wealthy than you are, on top of the other guys that are trying to be more famous and wealthy than you are or ever will be. So that's going to be the test. Because I think, honestly, Freddie Kitchens failed it. He failed at the leading of men about halfway through the season when things started to trickle down, right around when the boiling point was when Myles Garrett hit Mason Rudolph with a helmet. Mm-hmm. That was the point where everybody goes, oh, holy... It wasn't just a holy crap, but Myles Garrett, the guy that we drafted coming out of the 0-16 season, the guy who was going to lead our defense and be that elite guy, made the decision to slam a dude, to rip off a guy's helmet and hit him in the head with it, and in a moment of frustration, with 8 seconds left in the game. And I will go back and I will I will defend this forever. That doesn't happen on a Bill Belichick-led team or a Sean Payton or an Andy Reid or any of those guys, because they have the respect that has been baked in.
Yeah,
and I think McCarthy would have had that, possibly Josh McDaniels. Kevin Stefanski,
he's going to have to
we
show
don't know.
Right, we don't know yet. I think the defining moment or two for me in the season, I mean, the Miles thing was just a culmination of what else could go wrong and how bad could it be. But when we lost the Denver game, when every bone in my body says, how can you let a rookie quarterback beat you? I don't care if it's in Denver, it's a home game. And I don't care how good or bad Denver was. It was a rookie quarterback. I don't think he'd thrown an NFL not touchdown pass. How do you not put pressure after pressure? And if you get burned once, fine. Put more pressure on the kid. Knock him around, knock him down, make him, they didn't do any of that. Or if they did, it wasn't effective at all. And then when you come back and you lose to the Cardinals, then, that told me that, even if we got in the playoffs, we weren't going to go very far because, it just wasn't happening. Those are two games that we put in the win column and that never materialized.
Guys, this is a very interesting day. I'm going to be interested to see what a guy like Kirk Cousins says, what Stefon Diggs says, Adam Thielen. I want to know what the reaction in Minnesota is. I'd love to bring on my friend Corey, who is a diehard, passionate Vikings fan, to get his insight. Corey is going to be absolutely a guy that we're going to want to bring on because I don't really know. Honestly, I don't really follow the NFC, but specifically, I don't follow like the NFC Norse division, right? So I don't have as much insight into it, but I want to bring on a very passionate Vikings fan to enlighten us Browns fans with what he thinks of this. And I think that's going to be really important because that's going to be the telltale sign. If anybody came to me and said, "Hey, what do you think about Todd Haley? What do you think about what do you think about Freddie Kitchens?" I mean, I'm going to give you my thoughts because we lived and breathed it for so long. We need to get that reaction from the Vikings players, the Vikings fans. I want to know that.
Wonder what Quincy's thinking now. What his opinion is.
I don't know. I'm sure Quincy will be going live with a video. Referring to Quincy Carrier, I assume. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Quincy's going to be going live. I'm sure he'll have a video out today at some point. If he may even be in chat there somewhere. Quincy, if you're out there, holy crap, dude. Yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about over the next couple days, I think. Everybody out there, so many people in chat. I'd love to thank everybody. Thank you all to the new subscribers, number one. Thank you to Jason Stopar and Gary Washington. It was confirmed. I double-checked. It was Gary Washington. So Gary's a longtime guy. Jason Stopar, another longtime guy in terms of in the chat. So really appreciate that, fellas.
Mike, do we know who won the giveaway from yesterday?
Let's go. Let's check on it now. So I'm gonna have to go to the. Actually, it's gonna take me a second to do it.
Right.
To double check because I have to go through each one. I think it might be. There's a very good chance it's Jason Stopar because he's picked basically the 49ers the whole way.
Yeah.
But I got to go back and look. I don't have the update. This happened kind of like very impromptu. Like I was expecting this to be later on today, if not tomorrow. Right. So we have a giveaway for the Odell Beckham Funko Pop. And I'll give you, whoever wins that giveaway, I'll give you the option of you can get the Odell Beckham or Baker Mayfield. They're $1 difference, so whichever one you want, I'll go ahead and buy for you. And we'll do that giveaway probably on the next live stream, so I have enough time to actually compile it. Spent the morning finishing the Browns 2019 year in review. Guys, if you haven't had a chance to go watch the 2019 year in review video that we just launched earlier today, I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments on that video, what you thought. I thought it was kind of like a somber type feeling, but it was somewhat uplifting towards the end as well.
Could you put a link on chat there for them to go to?
No, I lost my alert box. TRYP Click Entertainment just subscribed. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, it's still not official yet. Phil Golly says Stefanski is not official yet, but obviously it's not being disavowed. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of they're trying to figure out when do we put him in front of the camera? What does he say? What do we say about who didn't get it? What do we say about the GM process, which is going to start next week? They're going to roll in 2 or 3 guys, and obviously Stefanski is going to be part of that. He'll have a lot of input. I don't know if he has a preference. I don't know if he has a guy. Um, I don't know if Kubiak could be a GM if he's got that in him,
I
or
don't think Kubiak's going to be a GM.
yeah, he's just a football guy. But I don't know if he wants to rely on a prior relationship.
Muhammad Bakar, thank you for subscribing.
So um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I'm
don't
looking
know.
at chat
I don't
here.
know what we're gonna do for the GM position but I guess so far, the Jimmy Haslam did say that he wants to hire the coach first, and then have the coach give some input onto the GM as well. So the coach now is going to be a part of the hiring process. Stefanski, because they lost, we don't gotta wait. Jack McCurry, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the community, both Jack and Muhammad. He can start right away. So, which is great because there's a lot of great offensive linemen that are in free agency right now. If we get rid of Greg Robinson, just let him go, because I'm pretty sure he's an unrestricted free agent. So let Greg Robinson go. There's no way that a guy like Stefanski is going to look at our offensive line and not determine based off of the numbers. Because you can just look at Pro Football Focus and see who was bad and who was good.
Right.
And Greg Robinson was bad. Hubbard was bad. You sent me that tweet, which is actually really interesting. Where was that tweet? Maybe it was Brown's Huddle that posted it. Chad P71 at Browns Access posted a
rating.
A rating. Let me see if I can go. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Performance rate. I guess it was by the numbers, and I clearly can't define, additional points for a great play on the field or this or that. It talks about, well, gee, how many tackles was he in? How many was he relevant for this or that? And I think you pointed out right away that Mack Wilson got a poor rating. Didn't even get a mediocre. He got a poor rating, which if I followed his games, through the weeks being a rookie and everything, I thought he had a pretty good year.
So I'm looking. I just pulled it up on screen.
Yeah.
The things where we absolutely need to improve. How Pro Football Focus actually gave Greg Robinson an above average rating. Batonio above average. J.C. Treader, Teller, and Hubbard were both either average or below average. Greg Robinson was not an above average player, because you got to take into consideration not just the blocking ability, but what the whiffs that he had, and then on top of it, the penalties. The getting kicked out of a game, and then just the penalties in critical situations. I don't know if Pro Football Focus actually puts that into their algorithm when they rate players, but yeah, Mack Wilson rated poor was surprising. Some of the comments that I got from Twitter when I commented about that was that he's pretty decent against the pass, but absolutely horrid against the rush. And I think that's something. Mack Wilson is going to be a very good linebacker in the league. It's going to be interesting to see if we bring back, out of the guys that are out there, Demarius is gone, Murray's gone, Schobert is going to be a question mark, Higgins is a question mark. Although, I don't know. It's actually going to be really interesting to see what we do with Higgins now with Stefanski as the coach.
Right.
Could we bring back Higgins?
Yeah. Unproven. Got to prove himself. I'd give him a shot unless somebody really wanted him badly and was going to give me something really great for him. I'd keep him on the team. I'd let him show me what he couldn't show Freddie Kitchens, or Dorsey, because if Dorsey's was controlling Freddie from the press box in terms of who he could play and who he couldn't play, well, that'd be a story for a future date.
Well, the roster, you said it before. You think the roster is going to turn over big time. Do you still think that?
I think so. Yeah. There's not enough talent on there to say that your job is safe. At least 50% of them are expendable, and then some. So you got a core You got a very good core
Mm-hmm.
in some critical positions, and like any team that needs to either rebuild or get themselves better, they start filling in the gaps and they start upgrading from one position to the next and before you know it, you've got a really, really solid team, and that's what Stefanski's got to do with the GM. Is they'll look at the tape. If we can see it, they clearly can see it.
Yep.
So it's just a question of, can they pick the right talent? Is it going to be out there? That, like we said before, that number 10 pick in the 2020 draft is going to be very telling
Yeah.
in terms of this crew that's coming in as to what they think, what they're able to execute. It's easy to pick somebody. It's a question of making that person turn out to be the guy that you want. Now, if we pick a punter,
Yeah.
clearly we're idiots.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. But if you pick, an offensive lineman, there's no guarantee. But at least you're recognizing the fact that I'm taking a top 10 prospect and
Yep.
I'm putting him in my lineup. And if he works out, great. Austin Corbett did not work out for whatever reason with us. Maybe he's working out with the Rams. I'm going to watch him next year and see. So that clearly is environment, coaching, atmosphere, not feeling comfortable, not being having any confidence in you, and then you go to a team that has all those things in your favor, and you start to blossom and
Yeah.
start to play. So he
Well,
obviously had talent before he got there.
yeah. Well, looking through Pro Football Focus for what Chad P71 at Browns Access put out there, looking back over this again, I'm trying to think. I mean, it's offensive line. Tight end is kind of a question mark there with Njoku, because Njoku's not a free agent, so he can't go anywhere. But
Right.
Njoku is a big question mark in terms of he was below average. But again, I mean, he was hurt. What's to say? If you got to go back to 2018 to really and look at his body of work in a season where he breaks his wrist early in the season. How do you rate him as below average?
Right.
Who knows? I think if you look at David Njoku, and if you don't see somebody who can be a beast in this league, then I think we'd be giving up a little bit too early on him. However, he was a first overall draft pick, and if you look at the guys that are out there like Kittle and Andrews, the wide receivers that are out there that weren't first round picks, man, Andrews is one guy that I would love to have on the Browns. He is another wide receiver, but he's also featured quite a bit, and he can block.
Right.
So who knows? But I think we're going to be going offensive line, and then I wouldn't be surprised if we get rid of Schobert, if we don't re-sign him. We're probably looking at a linebacker coming into play, definitely a safety, because Demarius and Eric Murray are gone. So we're going to need safeties, because Burnett is not going to, he's not the answer. Redwine's not the answer. So although
TJ Carrier, I think he could be gone too.
TJ Carey, yeah, I don't think even TJ's listed. He's not even on this. He's not even on the thing.
He played a lot. He played
Yeah.
a lot.
Looking at cornerback, Greedy Williams, other quarterback. Yeah, he's not even listed here. T. Mitch is there. He's fine. Greedy Williams has got to get better. For the love of God, Greedy Williams has got to get better. Olivier Vernon's got to stay healthy. TJ Carey is there. He was rated as average, so 55 to 64, somewhere in there. But yeah, I think, guys, I think I can come around on Stefanski. If somebody's watching this video right now, we've been at it for an hour and 24 minutes. If anybody looks at the beginning of this video till now, I have gone through various stages of grief through the course of this video. And I am now to the acceptance. Nothing we can do. We have to accept it and move forward. There was no guarantee about Josh McDaniels. There's no guarantee about anyone. I'm glad that we didn't go with like Brian Dable.
Right.
I'm glad we didn't go with Saleh. So there's some guys. I think there's some bullets that we avoided, and I think Stefanski, to me, although I don't see the track record other than being maybe a hot coordinator. He's the hot coordinator of the moment. That's what he is. The hot coordinator is Kevin Stefanski. Now, can he continue that momentum forward into... Now, as we all know, the Browns fans are typically known as the dog pound. I look at the actual stadium dog pound doesn't necessarily exist the way it used to in the past in the old municipal stadium. But I can tell you where the dog pound exists is on Twitter. Browns Twitter is the new dog pound. And Kevin Stefanski is going right into it with all the cages open. So all the dogs are loose on him right now, and he has to perform. Because at the end of the day, it's just about wins and losses. If Freddie Kitchens would have got us through the playoffs, he'd still have his job. John Dorsey would be there, and everybody would be celebrating Alabama boy.
We were 3 wins away from that, and a lot of those games, you flip a score one way or the other. You flip an interception or a turnover or whatever, and we win those games. We don't lose those games. And you're right. We'd be singing a different song, worrying about next year with, are we going to get better? Is Freddie going to change? Blah, blah, blah. Now, now we're leaving it up to Stefanski to tell us exactly what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. And then we'll all obviously have our own opinion. But it'll be clearly shaded by those first 3 games, whether we win, lose, or
You're
break
absolutely
even.
right. The first 3 games are going to be critical. And the preseason is not going to tell us a whole lot. That's just going to be people playing because our stars don't even play in the preseason.
Right.
So that'll be a thing. I'd have to go back to the Vikings preseason games to see if Thielen, Stefan Diggs, those guys, see if they played in the preseason because that might show you what his level of expectation is going to be for the stars of the Browns. That'd be good to find out. Maybe I'll do some research on that. I have a lot of research to do, guys. This is going to be uncharted territory. Bringing in another offensive coordinator who has not coached a team at a leadership role other than leading one side of the ball.
Yeah, he's like you said, Mike, he's 37 years old. I look back at when I was 37. He's younger than you, Mike.
Yeah, 3 years younger than me.
Yeah. So, and he's never been a head coach. Maybe
he has been in the NFL for quite a bit longer than I have been in the NFL.
Right, but running an NFL team from start to finish, your staff, the meetings, the strategies, the practices, the preseason, the draft. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
It's not 40 yet, Strauman. I'm almost 40. I'll 40 tomorrow.
It's not like being an offensive coordinator where you got one focus, which is to drive the offense. He's got now 10 different focuses that are going to be after his time, and that's where Freddie failed.
Yep.
He tried to be a good offensive coordinator as the head coach. He was able to pull it off a few times where he had some wins, but he wasn't able to manage the whole thing, and that's got to be his biggest learning thing going forward if he gets another shot to learn from your mistakes, and hopefully Stefanski will learn from Kitchens' mistakes and others that he's
You're not learning from your mistakes because you keep calling him Stefanski and it's Stefanski.
But he could be Stefanski too. We'll see. But it's all up in front of him, and if he's a good learner, a good listener, and we'll see if he's a risk taker in terms of how he runs games and who he hires and who he has as players and whatnot.
Right.
And the other critical thing is, Baker is, like you said, the heart and soul of this team. Your quarterback always is.
Mm-hmm.
And he had such a great coming out after that Jets game. And then to see him struggle through 2019 the way he did, and catch really bad breaks with tip balls going for interceptions and things like that. But he threw some bad balls, and he didn't have a lot of protection. So if those things can turn around and Baker can be Baker the way he was in 2018, we have a lot of upside potential. And then I give Stefanski credit for developing a quarterback.
Spread God, thank you for subscribing to the channel. New subscriber that came in. Anybody who's not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and if you're a Browns fan, if you're just an NFL fan, you're probably not going to get a whole lot out of this channel because we are 99.999% focused on the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
Maybe some AFC North guys when we happen to go live talking about their stuff. Is that the GIF that plays when your sub goes off? Yeah, Ray, that's the GIF that goes off when I get a sub. Yeah, anybody who hasn't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that notification button. See all of our live stream. We love the fact that we got so many people in chat right now, and we hope to continue to build upon this. We got like 3,100 subscribers, maybe getting close to 3,200 subscribers. We want to try to get that doubled. I think by the end of next year we'll get that doubled. And follow on Twitter. We got the Twitter stuff above us as well, so follow there. Engage with us all over there, and then the Patreon as well. So you get the patreon.com/Brownie Postgame. We got a couple of new Patreon guys in this. I think that's awesome. Great. As we continue to grow the channel, as we continue to get better tools, better giveaways, all that kind of jazz. Can't do that without the support of the community, so I really appreciate all that, the Patreon. So actually, I'm overwhelmed by just the few people so far that have done this. We just launched Patreon last week. We're up to over $70 a month. I think that's amazing. Thank you guys so much for doing that. You are helping this this kind of dream come true, come out of nowhere, this channel, and really give you the kind of content that you're looking for as a Browns fan, because that's all we are. We're passionate Browns fans, and we care. And this happens. We're going live. We're talking about it, and this is funny because for everybody out there, stuck with us for this long. That's all my dad and I talk about. We'll call each other at least once or twice a day. If there's any news, we're calling each other, texting each other right away. And this is what we do. We talk about the Browns. So we launched this channel to be able to talk about the Cleveland Browns together, and obviously just record it, but also, be a part of the community with you guys.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank everybody who's been a Patreon subscriber and the chat. Love it.
Yeah, it's really interesting to go through the chat and see the comments and the range of the comments from the pro, Stefanski comments to the negative ones, to the disappointment, to the we're going to do well.
I think Gary Washington Gary Washington right now is the big Stefanski fan. So Gary, if Stefanski gets out and he starts killing it and does awesome, Gary Washington is going to be the guy that we're going to look to and be like, all right, Gary knew it. We didn't, but Gary knew it.
He knew it early on, yeah.
Yep.
So, but we'll see a lot of signals, I think, Mike, starting with the GM, offensive coordinator. Am I going to call plays? I'm really looking forward to that.
I want to know who's going to bring in for defensive coordinator.
That too,
because
yeah.
Steve Wilkes was terrible. Tim Zahler, thank you for subscribing, Tim.
I assume everybody's gone that's on the staff.
Rosaler,
maybe the trainer. So we'll see. So those will be the indications, and obviously, if it's significant enough for us to get back on the horn and get your input and get your reactions, we'll do that. Because I'm always open for new information. Tell me something I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you could be 100% right, and I could be 100% wrong. So we appreciate your comments and your input, and the fact that we got this channel going, and it's we got 318 people still watching us, and still participating in chat and whatnot. And we've been going at it for what, an hour and a half?
It's going to be fun when we get to the 1,000. We get 1,000 people watching.
Wow.
That's when we'll know. That's when we'll know we made it on YouTube.
Right. Well, we set a new record, I think, today. So
Fernando Rodriguez, thanks for subscribing, buddy. Welcome to the Brownie Postgame community. Brownie Postgame hug for you, Fernando. Yeah, no, I mean, we'll see, guys. This is uncharted territory, as we've said before, with Stefanski being hired, offensive coordinator. I want to know, because Steve Wilkes, you cannot get worse than Steve Wilkes. We went from a very overly aggressive, turnover-heavy, Greg Williams, passionate, fierce defense to a defense that played zone and let guys just crawl over the middle and get wide open and never put pressure on the quarterback unless the defensive line just happened to snake through. Right. So Steve Wilkes, we again launch you into the moon because you basically did nothing in terms of the pressure you put on offenses, and it was pathetic to watch guys like Andy Dalton and those guys. Todd Van Horn, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the community. Big Brownie Postgame hug for you there. So yeah, guys, I'm now interested in the defensive coordinator. Obviously, Stefanski's going to be the one who's going to be putting the the offense strategy together, and he's proven that. He's proven he can put together an offensive strategy, but can he put together a full team? Is the whole team, can the team get behind him? The players are going to come out and they're going to go, all right, I don't know. Stefanski is like just a couple years older than they are, and all he's been is a coach, and he's an Ivy League guy. So he's gonna have a lot to prove. He has a lot to prove to me as a fan, to you guys in chat, other than guys like Gary, who just is a firm believer right now. I'm not yet. We need to see what he does.
Right, and there's others that are going to be out there, going to be just as much under the microscope. The new Giants coach, the new Dallas coach, the new Panthers coach.
The new Giants coach, Joe. Look at that. He reported to Josh McDaniels.
Right.
And he gets the job.
Right.
Josh McDaniels gets nothing.
Coming out of the weeds. I mean, I can't imagine what the comments are by the Giants fans thinking, what the hell?
Oh, probably not. They're probably looking at it like, well, it can't get worse than Pat Shurmur. Us as Browns fans remember that. So I feel for the Giants fans going through a couple years with Pat Shurmur as your head coach. So maybe they're just like, I don't know. If he turns out to be Mike Vrabel and he's a good Patriots subordinate who comes on your team, that's awesome. If not, they're rebuilding anyway. So maybe they get 2 years of rebuilding and then they'll be ready for their actual big boy coach.
Right.
So who knows?
I think McCarthy's going to do well with Dallas. He inherits a talented team, a great organization, great facilities, passionate fan base.
Jacob Maskey, thank you for subscribing.
He's only got to deal with the Redskins, which aren't very good. The Eagles have had their struggles. He has nothing but upside potential as far as Dallas is concerned. So I think
McCarthy's going to do great. I wanted McCarthy. He was my number one pick. Sean Hayes, thank you for subscribing. Thank you very much, Sean. Big Brownie Postgame hug to you, both of you guys. So, I wanted McCarthy. And my second pick would have been Josh McDaniels just because I would have been excited about him.
Well, imagine if he does well with Dallas and we do poorly, the people are going to be second guessing.
I will. I'll tell you I will. But again, like it's 2020. Hindsight's 2020, and it's going to be really easy. Blassian, thank you for subscribing.
Yeah. What do you do if you're McDaniels now? You go back, and I'll collect my $4 million to be the offensive coordinator for New England until Belichick. They drag him off the field.
Josh McDaniels showed up to Cleveland, brought his wife in, showed up to Cleveland like he was going to be anointed the role. I think that might have been one of the things too. He might have looked at it, and who knows? I can tell you, in my experience in hiring and what I've seen just in my career, that sometimes people that when they think that they're going to be anointed a job will not prepare as well. They'll walk in there and be like, "You're lucky to have me." And then if you match that against somebody who does prepare very well and shows that they've upped their level of professionalism in an interview setting, it lends themselves to believe that the guy who prepared wants it more.
Sure. And if you overplay your hand, if McDaniels came in and said, okay, I think my stuff doesn't stink, and I think you really want me, and I want this, and this, and this. And that's just too much for them to absorb all at once. Get a good year under your belt and get you into the playoffs and make some right decisions. Yep. And then you go to the owner and say, I want this, I want that, I want that. Yep. I'm sure, Belichick went to New England and he had his say, but clearly after he's won a Super Bowl or two, he's got a hell of a lot more say.
Well, and also Robert Kraft is a much better owner than Jimmy Haslam is. That's one thing. But also on top of that, I think guessing from what and again, I don't have any insight. This is all speculation. Right. But I would assume that Josh like you're right, he probably came in there and said, these are the things I want. Maybe he asked for too much money.
Right.
That's possible too. I mean, he's getting, like you just mentioned, he's getting paid a heck of a lot of money to be an offensive coordinator. She's going to want more money to be a head coach. And maybe Stefanski is cheaper. Maybe he came in and said, hey, I'm open to working with a team of people versus having it be my way or the highway.
Right.
You got to think, and, I'm going to have to reflect on this. I have to read some more about what the insiders are saying about how it went down with McDaniels, why he didn't get it. But if I'm Josh McDaniels now, because I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to be any hotter than he is right now unless they rebuild New England without Tom Brady and do really well, then he'll have a shot. Josh McDaniels is a young guy. He's 43 years old. He's not going to never get another shot, but I think he's the hottest that he could have been right now.
Right.
The Giants' job goes to his subordinate, a wide receiver coach.
Right.
The Panthers' job goes to a guy at a Baylor who hasn't won anything other than he turned around Temple and Baylor. Congratulations.
Right.
And then the Dallas job goes to Mike McCarthy. The Dallas job would have probably been the other one, just from a notoriety perspective, that might have been exciting to head coaches that were out there. And obviously Mike McCarthy wanted that, and that might have been part of the Browns might have sniffed that out as well and said, hey, if we offer you the job right now, would you take it? And he'd be like, well, I still want to interview at Dallas, to be honest. I want to check my options. That's
Right.
usually not a good sign.
Right.
Whereas Stefanski, I don't think Stefanski was interviewing anywhere else. I don't know if he was. So this is we're pulling the trigger on this guy.
By the time he had a chance to interview, the other jobs were being filled. And so I wouldn't see Jerry Jones going with some offensive coordinator unless he was some, walk on water type of guy. He had to go with somebody that was going to be more impressive right from the get-go than Jason Garrett, and he got his man. He got the guy that I thought would come in and lay down the law as far as that locker room for the Browns and put in a strategy. And he was, when I saw the little bit of that documentary,
Kurt Nowitzki, welcome.
He looked like a real X's and O type of coach that would instill discipline, that you don't jump off sides.
Well, we'll see. I mean, what we will see about McCarthy, I think clearly he was the most qualified guy that was out there.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's a guaranteed that he's going to be the best guy out there. It's just he was the most qualified on paper. Quincy Carrier brought up some interesting points about Mike McCarthy when he was on the show a couple days ago. He thinks that Mike McCarthy's best years are behind him, which is also something to be said. If you hire a guy like I don't know, you hire a Don Shula in the 90s, are you getting the best Don Shula out there? Right? I don't know. Clearly not. Right? So there is something to be said about that. But I do think Mike McCarthy he's not that old. He's got years ahead of him. He's obviously got the energy.
Well, but I look at it from the standpoint of how many problems did we have? I mean, we had a list of problems that were underneath Freddie Kitchens of his own making or his own turning his back to, that McCarthy, just by his sheer presence, would have corrected and done a better job. He would have never let it get to the point where Freddie Kitchens did in terms of that locker room and people and so forth. So it's almost like, well, how could we lose by taking McCarthy? Because he's going to fix 50% of the things that are wrong with us right out of the box. And now he's only got the other 50% to worry about. So that's why I felt comfortable that we were going to be better, much better under McCarthy. We may not win the Super Bowl. Obviously Baker's got to perform, Miles got to perform.
Mike McCarthy's going to take Dallas to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think
I think he was the Dallas Cowboys were very close in a very mediocre division now. Right. Mike McCarthy's going to take them to the playoffs.
Prescott had played more consistently. I mean, he was up and down and up and down.
He's very good, though. Dak Prescott, he's very good.
Right, but when he's bad, he's very bad. He's like Winston. You gotta, I don't know, take the ball out of his hands. You gotta run with Ezekiel. You gotta throw to. He had a very weak wide receiver core, I think.
Robert Anthony, welcome.
If they could get the wide receiver core up for Dallas, I think they'll be a much, much better team.
Yeah.
Good defense, good offensive line. So he's got a lot of talent. So he's got his his expectations out there. If they don't make the playoffs, they'll be calling for his head
Oh, sure.
quickly too. So
Well, I mean, I think that if the expectations are the key thing. Again, Robert Anthony, Don's Gaming channel. Welcome, Don's Gaming. Expectations are an interesting thing, and if you look at coming out of the Hugh Jackson era, is 6-10 is 6-10 something that we would have been happy with Hugh Jackson after 0-16, 6-10 would have been a giant leap forward.
right.
But coming out of 7-8-1, I think that 7-8-1 showed us that there was potential to be great, and we didn't get that this year. Stefanski now unfortunately has to walk into those expectations with the stars that are on this team, and he's going to have to quickly assert himself as the leader, get his team and staff up and running and oriented to the Cleveland Browns, and start to get to know the players and do all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to know pretty early on if, by the smell test, does this look good or does this not look good? And Freddie Kitchens' smell test, game one, where game one was the shock to our system. It was the cold bucket of ice water dumped on top of us to go,
Right.
holy moly, this is not what we expected. 18 penalties and getting blown out by a above average Tennessee Titans team that now happens to be really hot and doing well. But
At home.
after the all the hype, all the stuff that we led up to that, the free agents, everything that we brought in to make this team excellent, to start our initial playoff run. The window has opened officially, and we started off with that dumpster fire of a game against Tennessee. That should have told us right then and there, this is not going to be what we thought it was going to be. But I think, myself included, I was in denial at that point, going, nah, we're gonna turn around. We turned it around against the Jets. Then we lost against the Rams. Then we ended up beating the Ravens. So we had some stuff. We had a little mojo, and we could have beat the Rams. The only team that we could not have beaten this year, who just absolutely took us to task, was the 49ers.
Right. I agree.
I went through that game looking for highlights. It was hardly any highlights to pull out of that game. At least the Rams and the Seahawks and some of the other games.
Baker had a bad game. I think he threw 3 interceptions or more.
The defense played terrible. We went out to San Francisco and got waxed.
Right.
Yeah, and that again was the other sign going, hey, hold on a second, guys. We should have been that team. This San Francisco team that's out there is the one that we should have been. And the fact that we weren't, gosh, I don't know. And I don't know if Kyle Shanahan was the reason. I'm not a big Kyle Shanahan fan. I think he lost the Super Bowl for the Falcons. And he was kind of a pain in the ass when we had him here in Cleveland as well, not managing the Johnny Manziel situation correctly.
Just a side story on that, Mike. You bring it up. The game, I think it was that Super Bowl in Atlanta.
Yep.
A couple of years ago. Friend of mine who I play golf with down here, and I was asking about getting Super Bowl tickets when we had aspirations. He said that he paid through his brother, who's a coach on the Colts. They paid $1,500 a ticket for very good seats for that Super Bowl. And I asked him, since I had a Ravens fan who really thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl here in Miami.
Yep.
I said, could you get my friend tickets? And he said, sure. And he looked into it. They wanted $2,800 through the NFL, through his brother, who's a coach for the NFL, $2,800 for one ticket. Now, granted, there are going to be good seats. He wasn't going to be up in the nosebleed section, and maybe he's going to be 40, 50-yard line type stuff, but still, $2,800 for one ticket.
When I thought about this season, I started putting together some thoughts on it, and I was going to be prepared to go up to $5,000
for a ticket
to buy a Browns Super Bowl ticket.
Wow.
That's where it would have gone for me. Now, again, it comes down to the quality of the ticket. where you're going to be. I'm not going to go to Miami. I've been in that stadium. That stadium is giant. And if you're in the 500 level, that's
you're up there.
Then there's no point. I'd rather just watch it at home in my media room.
Right.
But and you and I'm sure would get together to watch it. But in terms of the tickets themselves, I would be willing to go up because I think that's a once in a lifetime experience that you're going to have. It's almost like it's like going on a trip. If some people are like, I want to go to see the pyramids, or I want to go to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower. Like that's how much you spend on those sorts of trips. So I would have spent up to $5,000 to see the Browns play in the Super Bowl, and hopefully they won, and it would be a lasting memory. Tons of pictures and live streaming if the internet was solid. Hopefully they'll have, no matter where they go, they'll have 5G internet. So if the Browns ever do make the Super Bowl, we can go live in the Brownie Postgame from.
Well,
Browns.
that was like me going to the World Series of Poker in 2016, and you have to put up $10,000 for that. Now I didn't put up the whole $10,000. I had a lot of backers that put up $250 a piece, but I spent probably of my own money. I put up between the traveling out there. And rest of the entry fee and my hotel and food and everything else, probably $5,000. I did that, and it was, like you said, a once in a lifetime experience. You play with the best players of the world, and you match up your skills.
See what you got.
If you got lucky, you got lucky. I happened to get sucked out on a flush by another guy when I went all in, and I lost. But I got the day two, and I had a great experience that I'll never forget. But you're right. I wouldn't pay $5,000 to sit up in the nosebleed section.
No way. But who knows? I mean, maybe if we get to the point where we can get a corporate sponsor to pay our way, the Browns end up going. Right. Brought to you by CertaPro Painters out of Westlake. Brownie Postgame, Super Bowl tickets. Matt or Greg, if you're out there, I'm just kidding. I'm not expecting you guys to buy us Super Bowl tickets, but that actually it brings up a good time to talk about it. Right underneath my dad on the stream, you'll see the CertaPro Painters logo there, and the phone number to call Greg Tracy. Greg is a member of the community, and CertaPro is the first business Patreon level business tier to come in and support us. And with that support, there's going to come hopefully some really good changes, some production increases here at the Brownie Postgame channel in terms of what we can do from a video standpoint, as well as some of the cool giveaways that we want to do. Ultimately, guys, everybody in the chat, our goal is to be able to give out season tickets to the Browns. Right. And whether that is we buy season tickets and then we give out each individual game, or we give out a season ticket package to a lucky fan, I want to be able to, but the people that are in chat, the people that are here watching us live, I want to be able to give away tickets to the next Browns game every single game, every home game at least. And we can only do that when we have Patreon patrons out there that will help us do it, because I don't want to give away the nosebleed section. I want to give out like decent, $200+ per head tickets, so people have great experiences there, and they're like, hey, the Brownie Postgame guys are the guys who sent me. So yeah, so that's what the Patreon's for, and CertaPro Painters are the first ones that stepped up, and just fans of the program, and really, really good guys. Greg Tracy and Matt, franchise owner Matt, really, really great guys, passionate Browns fans. And if you happen to have any commercial or residential painting needs, give Greg a call. Let him know that you saw us on the Brownie Postgame show, and he'll take care of you. So
I don't know what else we can say at this point, Mike. We got to get more information, new information. Yep. We sort of beat this horse. I do want to wish Stefanski the best, even though I've sort of, been fairly negative through my comments. Now, I wanted Freddie Kitchens. He wasn't my first pick either, but I wanted him to succeed.
I did, yeah.
I want this guy to succeed too. I hope he takes it by the bull by the horns, and I hope he makes good decision after good decision after good decision, and he proves all this negative stuff that we just talked about wrong, and we go on to have a really good season.
Well, and I would like to qualify as well. My negative reaction isn't from I hope that he succeeds, or I really was passionate about Josh McDaniels or Mike McCarthy. Mine is more out of concern because I don't see the resume yet. But I am rooting for the Browns. I'm Browns till I die. So if he happens to do well, great. If he doesn't, I think that's where the fans' frustration is gonna hit a boiling point, because he doesn't have the pedigree. He doesn't have the resume that necessarily supports it at this point in his career. We gave Freddie the job after all his years in the NFL, and he finally got to it after a half season of being an offensive coordinator. This guy's been an offensive coordinator a little bit longer, and he's been with one team for a really long time. So if he does well and we wins games, it doesn't matter. But if he doesn't, and if we get off to a slow start, and if this happens, then people are going to be calling. We have a very short leash on this guy in terms of the fans. We need to get off to a hot start, but it also comes down to where he ends up. Because Josh McDaniels, his first year with Denver, ended up starting off that season 6-0, and they thought he was the second coming of Belichick.
Right.
And then the whole house of cards ended up collapsing on him, and they ended up going 8-8 that season, which was a colossal disaster.
Right.
That's one of the hardest collapses in NFL history without a major injury. At least the Eagles, when they did it, they lost Cunningham. This was just a collapse on its own. So Josh McDaniels got off to a hot start. So if Kevin Stefanski gets off to a 6-0 start, name a street after him. At this point, but he's got a lot to prove to me, the fan base, the players. Definitely the season ticket holders are out there. I mean, we deserve a winner in Cleveland, and if Stefanski's the guy, then great. But if he's not, it's going to be because who knows how many years we're still paying Freddie. We might even still be paying Hugh Jackson.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know we're still going to be paying Freddie. So hopefully Stefanski is the right guy. So guys, thank you very much for joining us today on the Brownie Postgame live stream. Peak concurrent was somewhere over 300, which is a pretty sure record for the Brownie Postgame YouTube channel. Really, really appreciate that. Head over to Patreon and help support us there. Help us get some cool stuff for you guys. Give Sorta Pro Painters a call if you happen to need any painting jobs done in the greater Cleveland area. Thank you to all the patrons so far that are listed at the bottom. Good luck, Kevin Stefanski. Good luck, dude. I hope you do well. I hope you prove all the naysayers and the negative Nancys out there that you were the right pick. You should have been the right pick last year. Prove us all wrong, and deliver us to the playoffs and beyond. And if you do that, I will be welcoming you very well. As always, go Browns.
Go Brownies.